Division for today's ECAB. We have with us our eminent speaker, Dr. Prashant Karya. He is MD Pediatrics and a consultant pediatrician and neonatologist at Param NICU and Children's Hospital. And today he'll be talking on interesting fever cases. So without wasting much of your time, I'll hand over the session to sir. Sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Uh, in this time, we are here with a CME in form of webinar, digital platform. I'm Dr. Prashant from Surat, pediatrician. And at any time, if you have any queries, you can just raise your hands or write in chat box so that we can answer in between. I've made some cases and require participation from all of you. If you can answer in chat box, that will be fine. Now in this era, if you ask anybody, may it be a pediatrician or a general practitioner, OPD में patient है क्या? And everybody will say नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं. Still, this is the golden time in which we can take advantage of this time to learn few new things. Whenever a patient comes to us, normally the child, when the parents bring a child to you, you are the first person in a contact, and everybody will be afraid of the illness, whether the child is sick or well. At present, everybody will be worried about the corona, that my child is having corona or not. But in all these cases, the main concern of you as well as parent will be to identify a sick as well as a well child. The child is well, then it is fine. You don't need to do anything. But if you find child to be a sick, then there are ways by which we can differentiate the illness, and if required, the referral should be done. Identifying sickness of a child is very easy. It takes only 30 seconds, in which you will be able to identify by looking at few parameters that the child is well or sick. If you find that child is having any danger signs, that means the child is a sick child and not a well child. So all this child should be referred. So in this 30 seconds, we will be learning, and then we will be coming to our main cases. Seriousness evaluation in first few seconds is done by appearance, airway, breathing, circulation, and others. So what do we mean by appearance? Appearance means if the child is alert, you are almost sure that the child is not very sick. But if you find that the child is lethargic, drowsy, restless, irritable, confused, or unresponsive, that means some underlying pathology is very serious and you need to refer the child. If a child presents to you with any of these airway sounds, audible stridor, audible wheezing, or a bubbling sound, that means this child is having slightly serious illness. In breathing, if you see that the child is having a tachypnea, there is increased work of breathing in form of retractions. It can be a suprasternal, it can be subcostal, it can be intercostal. It can be in form of flaring of alanasia or head nodding. Or if the child is having a grunting, the air entry is decreased, or you find crepitations, bronchi, or visibly there is a cyanosis. This all shows that the child is having some serious illness. If we talk about circulation, then when you check a child and child is having a tachycardia, cool, pale skin, a hypotension, or disproportionate tachycardia to tachypnea, we'll be coming to this in a case presentation. But disproportionate tachycardia to tachypnea, then that is a problematic. If there is poor peripheral pulses, capillary refilling time is increased, or there is oliguria, that means there is an issue. And if child is having purpuras, gangrenous skin rash, any membranes or abdominal distension which is unproportionate, then this all shows that the child is having sickness. It doesn't matter how many resources you have, if you don't know how to use them, they will never be enough. So instead of using resources, use your history taking skills and look for the symptoms. If you can find out from history diagnosis, then majority of time you are right. So there are solutions to all the hardest problem by a form of a fever, history taking. Now, first symptom, as we said, interesting fever cases. Whenever the child is having fever, the parents are worried. Parents are always complaining. My child is having 100 fever, 101 fever, 102, 103, or some parents will say 99.8-degree fever. Doctor, it is not coming to baseline, and I'm worried. So, fever of any degree will be worrisome for parents, and their worry will be actually a worry for us. So, whenever we get a fever in a child, there are few things which we must ask. Let me tell you that from asking all these points, normally we'll be able to reach to some diagnosis by only asking some history. In history of fever, we normally ask what is the degree of fever at onset, what is the response to paracetamol, how is the interfebrile period, what is the rhythm of fever, and if the child is having a long duration history, then trend by day 3 and day 4. With this, if there is any accompanying symptoms, then that will also help in diagnosis of fevers. So remember, we will be asking all these 6 things to parents and will be coming to some baseline diagnosis from this. So with this brief introduction, we are just going for a case discussion, and you can just write down in a chat box the diagnosis which you feel from this history. I'm giving you this history only, so you can just write down the differential diagnosis and we can just discuss. So first case, the degree of fever at onset was high. Response to paracetamol was fair or variable, you can say. Sometimes the fever was coming back to normal, sometimes it was not coming back to normal. The only thing was between 2 spikes of fever, that means the interfebrile period, child was totally normal. When we checked for the rhythm, the parents said that fever comes up every 5 to 6 hours. And as the child presented to us on a 5th day, the parents said gradually as such the spikes are decreasing, but the fever is coming 5 to 6 days. When we asked more, they said there was an accompanying symptom of cold and cough which was there from 2nd day. So can anybody wants to make a guess what this can be? You can just write down in a chat box the diagnosis, and then we will be saying this. One response in a chat, it says URTI, Yogesh Akhani. So right, he is perfectly right that this is a URTI, but mainly we say it is a viral URTI. So looking at this simple history, we are able to come to a diagnosis of a first case. May not be possible in practice every time, but yes, if you ask all these 6 questions and this type of presentation, then this is viral fever and viral URTI. Coming to the second case, that this child, I'm not giving age, I'm just giving you the situation. Anything which you want to ask, you can ask in chat. This is the second case in which the fever was high grade from the onset. Again, the response to paracetamol was erratic. The child was interfebrile period normal. Rhythm, fever comes up daily. Same spikes. I mean, there was daily fever and same spikes associated with some body ache and headache. So anyone wants to make a guess what this can be? If a child presents with a high grade fever which is showing erratic response, and in between the child is normal, but fever is coming daily associated with body ache and headache. Somebody sent to me in personal that this can be a viral, but then this can be a viral as well as malarial. Both the things can be there. So Just looking at the history, we can say the diagnosis. The third case, again, the degree of fever at onset was high grade fever. Response to paracetamol was poor. I mean, the child was having a fever which was not coming back to normal. Interfebrile period, child was sick looking, and the rhythm was fever was coming every 4 hours. And by day 3 and day 4, the spikes were increasing. Remember the first case in which we said the fever was coming back to normal by third or fourth day. In this case, the fever is coming up by day 3 and day 4, and accompanying symptoms, when we ask, it was nothing. So this was a child who was having some infection which is not localized yet. We can say that this is a fever without focus and with bacterial infection. Why bacterial infection and not viral? First thing, the fever response to paracetamol is variable or poor. Second, the spikes are increasing and the child is sick looking. Remember, in case of viral, the child will be looking normal in interfebrile period. So this can be a fever without focus. When we come to next case, the case 4, it shows that the child was having a low grade fever initially and then the high grade fever. In this case again, the response to paracetamol was fair. Again, interfebrile period, child was sick looking. By third and fourth day, again, there was increasing spikes. The fever spikes were increasing. And when we asked about the accompanying symptoms, the mother said child is having cough, difficulty in breathing, altered sensorium, and they presented with convulsion. Can anyone make a guess what this can be? Again, this child is having fever which was low grade initially, but then spikes were increasing. There was a fair response to paracetamol. Child is sick, interfebrile period sick. Rhythm fever comes up every 2 to 4 hours, every 4 hours. And by day 3 and 4, the spikes were increasing. Associated symptoms were cough, difficulty in breathing, altered sensorium, and convulsion. Again, Yogesh Akhani has replied to me in private, but then reply in everyone so everybody can see. You said meningitis, agreed. This can be a meningitis when we say altered sensorium and convulsion. Second, when we say difficulty in breathing and tachypnea, it can be a meningitis. It can be a pneumonia. So, due to hypoxia, sometimes the child may throw convulsion. But the thing which is important in this case, what I want to tell you was simple thing, that there is a localization of fever. See, remember the third case. In third case, what we said, there was no localization. Fever without focus. There were no accompanying symptoms. But in this case, we are getting a localization in form of other symptoms like cough, difficulty in breathing, altered sensorium, and convulsion. So, perfect. I think Rohit, Dr. Yogesh should be appreciated that he identified all 3 cases till now. Okay.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thanks.
Uh, Going to the next case, that is 5th case in the series for fever. Now, this 4-year-old child, they are just going above the routine cases. These were routine cases which we normally see in a OPD. But when we are talking about something else, then there are other things which should be seen. Like this 4-year-old child was diagnosed initially as an acute viral infection, but child was put on antibiotic. Majority of the time it happens that whenever the child comes with a fever, we all prescribe antibiotics, and we just want to decrease the use of antibiotics, and that is the reason I'm taking this session. Child was given antibiotics, azithromycin, for 3 days, and the fever subsided on day 4. So parents were happy, you are happy that you prescribe. But on day 4, fever recurred. Is this time the fever was moderate in intensity. Initially, the child was having a high grade fever, and now after fourth day, once the child was afebrile, the child is having now moderate fever. But at this time, the child was normal. Any thought what this can be? Fine. I do have many cases, so I'm not waiting more. But this was a case of viral fever only. We should not do anything. This is not at all a bacterial secondary infection. This is a biphasic fever, normally characteristic of a viral infection. So in that case, what we thought was, because we have given a azithral, the child was fine, and after fourth day, the child is having a superadded bacterial infection. But no, it's not there. It was actually a viral infection. Whether you give antibiotic or not, the infection will be better in a 4 days. Sometimes we see a second peak of a fever, but remember, it will be a lesser peak as compared to your previous peak, and the child will be otherwise totally normal. So this was totally a viral fever. Coming to our, the catch in this was the fever was moderate in intensity and the child was otherwise normal. When we say about this thing, again, the 4-year-old child, same child was diagnosed as an acute viral infection. Child was given nothing, as they have tried not to give antibiotics. So fever subsided on day 4. Parents were happy. Doctor was happy. But after 24 hours, again the fever increased. This time, again the fever was moderate in intensity, but the child was drowsy. Remember, in first case, the fever came which was moderate in intensity, but the child was normal. Here, the child is drowsy. Any thought process from anyone? If they want to speak, they can just raise the hand, and uh, the host will unmute them. Any thought process on this? Fine. Remember what I said was this child is a drowsy. So this is a biphasic fever again, but there is a complication. Whenever there is a drowsiness, it is normally due to a hypoperfusion or a hypoxia. This child has actually no reason to be hypoxic because the child was normally treated at home. So this child is having a hypoperfusion without the obvious fluid loss. If this child was having acute gastroenteritis, then this was obvious fluid loss. But this child was not having any history of loss. So where this fluid has gone? This fluid has gone to a third space, and we normally call as a capillary leak syndrome. We used to get many cases, and Surat or South Gujarat, we used to get many cases of capillary leak syndrome. And normally the cause is dengue, as rightly said in the chat, that it can be a dengue fever. So this fever was a capillary leak syndrome. The catch here was the child is drowsy. So anytime if you see unanticipated progress, as I said that if child is having a viral fever, we expect biphasic fever. That once the child is afebrile, after that there will be some fever spikes. But the child should remain normal, playful, and active. If child becomes inactive or drowsy, that means there is some issue, and we must be beware about this unanticipated progress. Okay, so whenever fever is there, there are some basic rules which we all must follow. The first, provisional diagnosis is possible even without any signs. We must analyze the fever pattern and document it. We all know that malaria fever will be having fixed time schedule, alternate day or daily. But There will be a fixed time schedule. One thing which we all must remember: no fever, no acute bacterial infection, and no antibiotic. Many a times, if patient comes to you and you don't prescribe antibiotic, that means you're not treated. That is either a feeling of you or relatives, which is wrong. I mean, many a times मेरे पास patient आते हैं और वो उनके parent बोलते हैं, सर वो powder वाली दवाई लिख देना, नहीं तो बच्चा अच्छा ही नहीं होता. So what is this powder वाली दवाई? That is antibiotic, and we should not prescribe just for the sake of patient that they are demanding it. So this should not be done. If patient is coming to you for a regular follow, then no antibiotic for first 3 to 4 days of fever till the disease localizes. See, normally whenever child is brought to my clinic, what we do is we advise them that maintain a temperature chart, the time of day, fever spike, which medicine was given, and after giving medicine, within how much time the child become afebrile. So if they are coming with this type of charting, then it may help us in deciding that whether the fever spikes are increasing or decreasing, or the duration is increasing or decreasing. That can be a beneficial for treating a fever child. Few exceptions that in which we see localizations early, before 3 to 4 days, that can be a tonsillitis, a dysentery, cervical lymphadenitis, which normally localizes early. So that should be a case in which we give antibiotics early. Suppose you want to start an empirical antibiotic, which is normally should not be done. In that case, we should either admit the child or actually investigate the child and then start it. We should send basic investigation like complete blood count, urine analysis, chest x-ray, or even blood culture for salmonella. I mean, when we were students, we used to send the blood culture, but we are not getting the report of salmonella positive. But nowadays, when we are sending a blood culture for salmonella, we are getting typhi positive, paratyphi positive. I mean, that is coming because the culture was sent before starting antibiotic. If you give antibiotic within a single shot, there will be a cases in which will not be getting any growth in culture. So remember, if you want to start, send that. Third and fourth day is a time in which sometimes the pneumonia may not give some signs. So chest x-ray should be done if you are having some doubts and you're not able to find the focus. In our country, drug resistance is rare in common community infections. Like we normally don't get any drug resistance. Few cases of malaria, typhoid, or TB that are getting, but see, those who are practicing since years will be seeing that number of cases of TB are decreasing. There are so many reasons that TB cases are decreasing. One of them is we are not giving empirical AKT. Initially, people used to give empirical AKT, and that's why the number of TB cases were more. Empirical malaria treatment nowadays is not being given. Empirical typhoid treatment, we all give normally the treatment once all the investigations are there. If rationally antibiotic is selected and the child doesn't respond, then look for an alternative diagnosis. Don't try the second antibiotic. Sometimes it happens that initial impression which was there will be a wrong thing. And second thing, if you selected two rational antibiotics which failed, then acute bacterial infection is totally ruled out. Do not try the third antibiotic. So that is the rule which we must follow. When I'm talking about a rational antibiotic, that means for a right indication, in right dose, right route, right duration, right time, and right brand. Majority of time we use generic brands which may not work all the times. Say for example, if you are giving for tonsillitis cefixime, then it will not work. Reason being, the cefixime is for below the diaphragm. So that means for GI, if you are using cefixime, that can work. For upper GI, if you are using amoxiclav, then that will work. If for respiratory, if you are using azithromycin or amoxiclav, that will use. But then again, most important is the dosing. When we are giving dose, that should be a perfect dose. In pediatric, see, in adults it's fine that suppose a adult patient is coming and you suspect that the adult person is having a pneumonia, and you want to give antibiotic, you will give amoxiclav 625 BD or TDS depending upon your choice. But then in pediatric patient, it has to be a milligram per kg. So that is the most important. Third thing is, when, say for example, a child of acute superiority otitis media comes to me and I've selected a right indication, that this is the indication in which the antibiotic should be given. The dose of amoxicillin clavulanic acid is selected perfectly. The route was oral, that child was stable, so I want to give oral, but the duration which I selected was only 3 days. That will not sufficient, because once one bottle is over, the parent will not purchase the second bottle. So that can be a problem. So in that case, the duration should be minimum 7 to 10 days. So that is there. So normally use antibiotics very judiciously. If you are having a child with fever and day 1 and 2 you have just ruled out seriousness, then observe and give paracetamol only. Make chart, give them chart, give them, ask them to write down on pen with pen and paper, that what was the peak of a fever, so that can help. If by third and fourth day they came and we find some localization by clinically or some relevant test, then it can be a pneumonia, it can be a UTI. Then at that time, the antibiotics therapy can be started. The most important thing is fever without focus. Many a times in pediatric age group, the focus is urinary tract, focus is ear, focus is hidden abscess anywhere in the body. So we must try to find out the cause of unknown fever or without localization fever. In many, we are sending urine routine micro, but we are not sending urine culture. So make a habit that any child in which you write down a diagnosis of UTI, send urine culture. That will be a beneficial. If a child comes on follow-up on day 5 to 7, we assess the progress of fever. We review our diagnosis. If the child is improving, that means initial diagnosis which we have kept, either a viral fever or bacterial fever with localization, without localization, that is fine. But still, if by 5 to 7 days, if you are not getting any clues, then we must repeat the test. And most important is we must rule out Kawasaki. Kawasaki I'm saying because nowadays atypical Kawasaki incidence is increasing. Day 8 to 10, when the child is healthy, we reassess again periodically the child, and additional relevant test, if required, should be done. At this time, you may consider change of antibiotic. But if the child is having a fever for more than 2 weeks, then search for non-infective causes or chronic infection by a relevant test. That should be our priority. So let me tell you one thing, that fever is like a Pandora's box. I mean, anything, any condition in body, may it be infectious, may it be a malignancy, may it be a chronic conditions, may it be a inflammatory conditions, the fever will be there. But you must know the cause of fever. Coming to a second symptom, which normally I take with this, is a cough. That cough, any medicine you give for a cough, the parents will say, सर अभी भी खांसता बहुत है, अभी भी खांसता बहुत है, हमने इसको शहद चटाया, हमने इसको नेबुलाइजर दे दिया, हमने इसको भाप दे दिया, हमने इसको तुलसी खिला दिया, हल्दी वाला दूध पिला दिया, सब कुछ किया, पर इसका कफ नहीं जा रहा. So for this type of cough, the sister said to a doctor that, sir, he was not improving in a cough. We didn't give him any cough medicine, but we gave him laxative. So it really worked. Do you see how afraid he is of a cough? So this type of things will be there. So in fever, as I said, few things. In cough also, there are few things which we will ask, and that will help us in a diagnosis of a cough. And after this cough, we'll take some questions if you are having. Any child with cough, we ask normally there's 5 things. Is cough the predominant symptom? The onset, duration, and progress. The past history of similar symptoms. This is most important. Personal or family history of atopy, that also we ask, and accompanying symptoms like fever, cold, and breathlessness. That should be there. So coming to few cases of cough, this is a 2-year-old child who is having a cough, and in this cough is actually not a predominant symptom, but the fever is predominant symptom. Cough and fever were together, both started together, but this child is having increasing fevers spike. This child is not having any history of past similar symptoms. There is no personal or family history of atopy, and accompanying symptoms was a cold. So this child is having a cough, fever, and cold. What can be our differential diagnosis in this? Anyone? See, the child is having cough with fever. Both are together. There is increasing fever spikes. There is no past history of similar complaints, no family history of atopy, and there is a history of cold, right? It's just a simple URTI. As we see in first case, viral fever or URTI of a fever, this is just a simple case. The second case was this, in which a 2-year-old child is having a predominant complaint of a cough. In this, there is cough and fever, both are there. There is a past history of similar symptoms repeatedly. This child was having that. There was a personal or family history of atopy was also present, and associated symptoms like cold, snoring, and mouth breathing was also present. So this child is having a cough, fever, cold, snoring, and mouth breathing. If we see the anatomy of our respiratory tract, this seems to be upper respiratory, but there is predominant snoring and mouth breathing, which is there in case of adenoids. So this was a case of adenotonsillitis. One more case of 2-year-old child in which the cough was a predominant symptom associated with fever, but in this the cough was on day 1 and the fever started on day 3. There was a past history of similar symptoms, as well as there is a personal or family history of atopy is also present. No other associated symptoms. Now remember the previous case, in that also more or less same things were there, but that child was having snoring and mouth breathing. This child is not having anything like snoring or mouth breathing. So practically adenotonsillitis is ruled out. Then there is a personal or family history of eczema, atopy, skin disease, anything is there, then this can be a hyperreactive airway disease. Now in this case, if fever was the predominant complaint followed by a cough and there is no history of atopy but the child may have tachypnea, then we label this as a case of pneumonia, because in this case there is a fever which is a predominant and the child is having a tachypnea. WHO guidelines in IMNCI says that any child with fever, cough and tachypnea, if it is there, then treat that as a pneumonia. This same 2-year-old child, if having a cough as a predominant symptom, this time the child is having a barking cough since last 3 weeks. There is no past history of similar symptoms and there is no family history of atopy. But there is a history of prolonged cough in 2 siblings since last 3 weeks. That means one elder sibling who is 6-year-old and this child who is 2-year-old, both are having barking cough. Associated symptoms are not much, but when we went for an investigation, this child shows lymphocytic leukocytosis and chest X-ray was normal. Can anybody wants to make a diagnosis attempt on this?
Whooping cough.
Whooping cough. Perfect. So this is an example of whooping cough and pertussis. That should be ruled out. Why I brought this case over here? For a simple reason that some years back, when we started with acellular pertussis vaccination, at that time there were peak of this cases between the age of 4 to 7 years. We are getting more number of pertussis cases, and not only between 4 to 7 years, but gradually the cases were coming to the neonatal period also. So the vaccination with pertussis is most important, and that should be done. So very good, Dr. Yogesh, a perfect diagnosis. Coming to a next case, that this child is having a cough in a 2-year-old child, in which the cough is a predominant complaint. When we asked for the onset, duration and progress, the mother said सुबह तक तो एकदम ठीक था, अचानक से उसको खांसी आना चालू हो गया है, कुछ भी नहीं था और एकदम से खांसी आ रहा है. कोई पास्ट हिस्ट्री नहीं है सिमिलर सिम्टम्स, कोई पास्ट हिस्ट्री नहीं है एटोपी की. बट जब हमने चेक किया, देन वी सी दैट दिस चाइल्ड इज हैविंग अ टेकिपनिया, दिस चाइल्ड इज हैविंग अ रिट्रैक्शन, एंड दिस चाइल्ड इज हैविंग अ साइनोसिस. एनी गेस फ्रॉम एनीवन, क्या हो सकता है ये अचानक से कफ होने का रीजन?
Foreign body.
Very good. Galaxy
Foreign body.
S20, I am able to. Can you say your name?
Dr. Lakhan Miyani.
Dr. Lakhan Miyani. Fine. So this is a case of foreign body. I mean, when we chest X-ray, it was hyperinflated chest and it was a foreign body. Remember, this case came to me in a OPD while I was going to see one emergency patient in some other hospital, and the parents came in a lift. At that time, I just saw that the child is tachypneic, retraction, cyanosis. So first diagnosis, which I thought was a pneumonia, but when they brought to my consulting, from the lift to my consulting, at that time I asked, kitne din se bukhar aa raha hai? They said no. So practically my pneumonia was out of question. The second thing which I asked was, ये कब से खांस रहा है? सर 2 घंटे पहले अभी वो खाना खा रहा था, थोड़ी सी मूंगफली खा रहा था और सडनली उसको ऐसा हो गया. Now they gave us the diagnosis that this is an inhaled foreign body. So anytime and within half an hour, मतलब वो जैसे ही उसने बोला, हमने तुरंत नीचे सर्जन डॉक्टर है उनके पास भेजा, and they did a bronchoscopy, and वो एकदम नॉर्मल, तुरंत पोस्ट ऑपरेटिव एकदम नॉर्मल हो गया, और within few hours we are able to send the child to home also. So ये काफी बार मिस होता है foreign body in toddlers, typically toddlers 1 to 3 years के बीच में. If you are having a sudden onset of cough, then think of foreign body. Again, ये सब cases हमने practically इतने साल में देखे हुए, वही सब मैं डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ. एज सबकी 2 years इसलिए रखी है कि ये थोड़ा डिस्कशन में अच्छा रहेगा. When this child came, this child was having a cough as a predominant complaint. Onset duration में again sudden था, कोई similar symptoms past में नहीं है, family history भी नहीं है, fever, cold, breathlessness कुछ भी नहीं था, but this child was having a barking cough and stridor. हमने foreign body देखा था, इसलिए हमने इस बार पूछ लिया, बेटा कुछ खाया नहीं है ना? He said no, कुछ नहीं खाया है. So what this can be? Same type of presentation, but foreign body is not there. What this can be? Anyone? और क्या क्या कारण से ऐसे बच्चे को सडन कफ हो सकता है? अपर एयरवे ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन किस चीज से हो सकता है?
Croup.
Croup. Fine. And again this time it is doctor. Who answered this?
Dr. Lakhan Miyani.
Again Dr. Lakhan. Rohit, I think both the doctors deserves to be appreciated.
Yeah, sir, definitely. I will finish meeting, and after I will express it.
The chest X-ray was suggestive of steeple sign, and this was a croup. So croup in pediatric patients, the typical is it is sudden in onset. They deteriorate very fast. Most important is they, if brought to a proper tertiary care or secondary care anywhere and treated, then the response will be better. Sometimes in cases of croup, we may find angioedema, some anaphylactic reaction can be there, and in these cases, the adrenaline and the steroids works best. Fine. Now, all these cases were 2-year-old, but I just want to discuss a last case maybe, that this is a child who is 10-year-old who is having cough since last 6 months. किसी के पास गया, किसी ने नेबुलाइज दिया, किसी के पास गया तो उसने बोला कि नहीं नहीं ये तो 10 साल का है, अस्थमा ही है, चलो एमडीआई चालू कर देते हैं, बट देयर वाज नो रिस्पॉन्स। उसको साथ में और कोई सिम्टम्स नहीं थे, ग्रोथ वाज नॉर्मल, चाइल्ड वाज एक्टिव, प्लेफुल, और टिपिकली जो ड्रॉट्स आते थे अस्थमा के, कफिंग एट नाइट, मिडनाइट होना, अर्ली मॉर्निंग होना, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं था। या तो प्ले टाइम में भी कोई एक्सरसाइज इंड्यूस अस्थमा, ऐसी कोई हिस्ट्री नहीं थी। दिस चाइल्ड व्हेन ब्रॉट टू अस, this child was having coughing and he was not able to complete a sentence. बात करते करते एक सेंटेंस भी पूरा नहीं बोलेगा और 10 बार खांसेगा। तो क्या हो सकता है? Anyone? फिर से एक बार बोल रहा हूं कि जब जिसको मैंने चेक किया बच्चे को, तो कुछ भी पॉजिटिव साइंस नहीं थी। कफ सिंस 6 months अगर है तो कुछ पॉजिटिव साइंस होना चाहिए, पर बच्चा टोटली नॉर्मल था, कुछ भी नहीं था। बट देन उसको बाउट्स बहुत आ रहे हैं, ऐसी ही कंप्लेन थी। क्या हो सकता है? एनी गेस?
Psychological way.
Psychological way, perfect. So this is with habitual, psychogenic or hysterical, that some, see, this is a typical age, 10-year-old child typically will have this type of presentation. So I'm glad that you people have answered. Last slide of my presentation. 6-month-old child when comes with a acute onset of breathlessness with fever, three things are most common. First, in which the respiratory rate will be high, 80 per minute, and heart rate will be near normal, 160. In these cases, it is normally a bronchiolitis. But if you find that a child with breathlessness and fever, the respiratory rate is near normal, 45, but the heart rate is 190, then the child is going for a cardiac failure. And if both are near normal, the respiratory rate is 45 and I mean not very high, and heart rate is 140, then that is normally a systemic inflammatory response and mainly a sepsis. That should be ruled out. So thank you very much for your interaction, and I tried to cover the interesting cases, 6 in fever and 6 in cough. So 12 cases in shorter time. Now, any questions if you have, we'd like to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a interactive and a lucid presentation, sir. So the forum is now open for question and answer round. So if anyone wants to ask any question, you can unmute your mic and ask directly to sir, or you can also type in the chat box as well.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Sir, when to suspect corona in a pediatric patient, and what is the prevalence of corona in pediatric age group?
Okay. See, prevalence in India will not be able to tell at present, but at present, if we talk about the Surat, in Surat, all the corona cases are normally treated at hospital, and I'm glad to share with all of you that civil में more around 36 cases in last 1.5 months are admitted, pediatric cases, and out of that 60% are discharged. The youngest was I think 3 years, which was there. Suspect wise, it remains same as adults, but this child will be having a fever, which will be again a high grade. It will be having an erratic response to your paracetamol. The child will have sudden breathlessness. Child will not show a feature, I mean less than 2 or 3 years, will not show much other features. Some will show a in a throat and that things that will be there. But classical picture of adults, they present normally with a ground glass appearance on CT, which is not there. Corona in pediatric age group is normally having a asymptomatic phase more or mild or moderate infection. The severe or a lethal infections are still not there. I mean, when people are saying that in abroad there were some cases in which the DIC was there, in some cases there were embolism, all these cases will be having some underlying other effects also. A normal healthy child, if gets the corona, then also he will be presenting to you normally as a child with either a upper respiratory tract infection or a lower respiratory tract infection, will not be able to differentiate. But at present, the recommendation from government is any child of ARI in which you prescribe medicines, you have to report the child. Then they will decide whether to check, investigate or not. But then at present, say for example, whatever is the number of patients I'm seeing, 70% are ARI patient at present, and we just report it to Surat Municipal Corporation. They just take daily follow-up, and if they found unexpected progress, as I said, that the child of upper respiratory tract infection should be better in 2-3 days, child of bronchiolitis should be better in 4-5 days. But if the child is deteriorating, that means there is some complication. In that cases, you have to suspect and investigate. Yeah, Yogesh Akhani, raise hand. You can unmute and ask.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Generally, we are giving paracetamol to pediatric age group. But in my practice, I have observed that if I don't want to give antibiotic for initial 3-4 days, instead of paracetamol, I am preferring paracetamol with mefenamic acid. So, say some comments on that. Whether
never ever give combination. See, frankly speaking, there is no need of 2 medicines together. Mefenamic acid, paracetamol, both are having antipyretic effects, but that is having more anti-inflammatory effect also. So don't use that. Second, use the opportunity of this instead of combinations. See, you said that you are giving paracetamol and mefenamic acid. Somebody will say, I'm giving ibuprofen and paracetamol. So that is also a combination which is there. So that is there. But as far as antipyretic, see, first thing, we have to explain to parents कि भाई फीवर से घबराना नहीं है, फीवर तो आएगा ही. When I see the child, ask parents कि देखो अगर बॉडी में कोई भी इन्फेक्शन है, वायरल या बैक्टीरियल, फीवर आना चाहिए, फीवर नहीं आएगा तो प्रॉब्लम है. सी यू सी इम्यूनो कॉम्प्रोमाइज पेशेंट जितने भी होते हैं उनको फीवर जल्दी नहीं आएगा, और आएगा तो इतना ज्यादा आ जाता है कि वो शूटअप जल्दी कर जाता है. तो हमें फीवर से नहीं डरना है, हमें डरना किससे? इफ यू आर गिविंग पैरासिटामोल और उसके बाद आधे घंटे 1 घंटे में फीवर उतरता नहीं है, देन यू आर वरीड. अगर वो उतर जाता है फिर 4 घंटे में वापस आता है, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. समझ गए? तो ये हमें पहले से उनको जाना होगा कि नहीं ऐसा होगा. सेकेंड, हम पेरेंट्स को ये भी बोलेंगे कि आप फीवर चार्ट लेके आओ. समटाइम्स मैंने जैसे बोला कि मेरे काफी पेशेंट्स ऐसे हैं कि जिनको अगर मैंने एंटीबायोटिक नहीं लिख के दिया ना तो वो दूसरे दिन किसी और के पास जाके लिखवा के आएंगे. ऐसा होता है, सबके साथ होता है कि आपने नहीं दिया, अरे वो डॉक्टर ने एक बार पाउडर की दवाई दी और ठीक हो गया. दैट इज व्हाट इज द रिस्पॉन्स ऑफ पेशेंट्स. बट देन अगर आपने कम्युनिकेशन अच्छे से किया और उनको कॉन्फिडेंस में लिया हुआ है, हमारे पुराने पेशेंट्स से हम उनको दूसरे दिन फॉलोअप में बुलाते हैं, फ्री में देख के देते हैं कि चलो फ्री में देख लेंगे, एंड वी चेक कि कोई कॉम्प्लिकेशन नहीं है, तो सिंगल एंटीबायोटिक विल बी यूजफुल, नो नीड ऑफ एंटीबायोटिक ऑल्सो. सेकेंड, जैसे मैंने आगे बोला था वैसे ही कभी भी एंटीबायोटिक चालू करने से पहले डॉक्यूमेंट करने की आदत का. सी आई रिमेम्बर इन 2006, I'll say 2003, when I started my residency. At that time I used to write down antibiotic in a patients. 100 पेशेंट अगर मैं ARI के देख रहा हूँ ना तो उसमें से 80 में मैं एंटीबायोटिक लिखता था. क्यों? क्योंकि मुझे खुद को कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं था, मेरे पास टाइम नहीं था कि पूरा काउंसलिंग कर पाऊं. पेशेंट को भी ऐसा लगता था कि नए डॉक्टर है तो चलो दूसरे को दिखाने चले जाएंगे, इसलिए उनका कॉन्फिडेंस जीतने के लिए ऐसा करता था. इन लास्ट 17 years now the data is, if I'm seeing 100 patient, I'm giving 20% patient only antibiotics. 80% I just say them, पहले तो फोन पे ही बोल देते हैं, हमारे यहाँ पे फोन आता है तो कि भाई आप चार्ट बनाओ, और अगर बच्चा फीवर उतरने के बाद खेलता है तो चिंता मत करो और 2 दिन बाद ही आना. वो टाइम हमें मिल जाता है कि 3rd डे पे हम इन्वेस्टिगेट भी करा लेते हैं. तो मेजोरिटी पेशेंट को हम इन्वेस्टिगेट करके एंटीबायोटिक देते हैं. तो ये धीरे धीरे चेंज होता है, मतलब एज यू ग्रो आपको कॉन्फिडेंस आता जाए.
For nimesulide, what is your recommendation? Can it be given after nimesulide?
Nimesulide never ever. I have not used in last 17 years.
after 10 years or 12 years?
Not used in a single patient. I see patient till 18 years of age. एक भी patient को nimesulide की जरूरत नहीं पड़ी है.
For follicular tonsillitis, generally I am giving cefuroxime, and I find that it is better than amoxiclav combination. If there is clear cut on examination throat, it looks that it is a follicular tonsillitis. My first line of drug is cefuroxime. What is your
That is what I'm saying. See, why to go directly to cefuroxime? See, in antibiotics, when we say rational, actually, ideally, you should start with amoxicillin only. See, if you are saying 100 patient of tonsillitis, follicular tonsillitis, 80% will respond only to amoxicillin. 10% will need additional clavulanate acid, and only 10% will be such that they will not respond to your amoxiclav. Sometimes out of this 10% who are not responding to amoxiclav, see, cefuroxime is definitely a superior molecule, so you will see a better result. But if we talk about a rationality, see what happens if at present we will use cefuroxime more, gradually the resistance will come. That is what happened to our basic antibiotics which we were using. So better is to use the lowermost and the effective most and come to the next level. So better is always use in proper dose the same amoxiclav. And how many days you give antibiotic in case of tonsillitis?
See, after 3 days I will review, and if I will see that it is complete resolution, then 2 more days I will give and then stop.
So that is what I'm saying. Any antibiotic which you start in follicular tonsillitis within 48 hours, if it is effective, there will be a complete resolution. But at least give for 7 complete days. When you started, 2 reasons. One, sometimes you are given antibiotics and that has worked, but it requires longer duration, as we said, for a rational antibiotic. And second, for a rheumatic fever prophylaxis, when we are talking, see, nowadays we are getting less number of rheumatic fever cases, but that was mainly occurring due to this tonsillitis, and secondarily it not treated well leads to a rheumatic fever. So that requires minimum of 7 days. So that is there. Nowadays we say, see, even azithromycin is a very good molecule. We can say we can give it for 3 days. Majority patients who are not very sick, they will respond to simple azithromycin also. But we keep azithromycin reserved for the atypical organism. That's why I said use amoxicillin if it is available. Nowadays the issue is amoxicillin plain milta hi nahi hai. We have to use amoxiclav, right?
No, Mox syrup and Mox capsules are easily available. Old brand.
That is fine. Mox syrup is available, but not easily. वही मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि आज हम ढूंढने जाते हैं ना, तो सब लोग amoxiclav ही लिख रहे हैं, इसलिए Mox मिल ही नहीं रही ज्यादा जगह पे. या फिर because it has gone to DPCO, the company is not promoting. You see, a company who is marketing amoxicillin will come to you for amoxiclav. The company who is having amoxiclav, but newer molecule like cefuroxime is launched, they will come for that. Okay, sir, ye likho, ye likho. But in all that cases, we must come back to our first line treatment. See, first line, second line, third line is always there. I've seen people using linezolide for follicular tonsillitis also. You will believe that? Linezolide भी directly linezolide चालू कर देते हैं, which we are keeping reserve drug for the MRSA. तो ये नहीं करना है. बाकी आप basic कोई भी चालू करें, that is better. Anyone else is having any question?
For soft tissue infection of the skin in pediatrics age group, azithromycin is better or cefuroxime?
Again, I don't have any objection for cefuroxime, but I'll use soft tissue infection. Again, Mox, that is better. Azithromycin is better. And then the third choice will be cefuroxime.
Okay, thank you.
Fine. So, Rohit, I think any more?
Yes, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone have any questions, sir? I think no more. Oh, thank you so much, sir, support for the this our CME, and thank you so much all the participants, the doctor, sir. Thank you for joining this CME. And sir, एक लखानी सर ने कमेंट में लिखा हुआ है, सर वेरी गुड लेक्चर सर, आपको अप्रिशिएट कर रहे हैं सर.
ओके
ओके
क्यों?
और सर हमारे लिए कुछ उनका सर? हाँ सर, वो अप्रिशिएट का आप बोल रहे थे सर। हम योगेश सर से और लखानी सर से, आप ही बोलिए सर क्या करें।
तो आपको जो करना है वो